welcome, Barnet. Everyone, you are listening to the Law of Attraction 2.0 Spiritual Straight Talk with G.P. Walsh, longtime spiritual teacher and healer, and hosted by myself, Karen Scarpula, author and forgiveness expert. And tonight, I'm thrilled that we have with us Barnet Bain, film producer, director, and screenplay writer. And Barnet, I'm just going to share a little bit about you based on some of the information that you gave us, and hopefully I won't make you blush too much.
Sure. Well, first of all, I hope you'll forgive me. We'll get that out of the way right off the bat. If I have a forgiveness expert, I'll take all the forgiveness I can get.
And you are welcome to that.
Thank you.
Well, listen, everyone, I want to share with you, not many of you may be familiar with Barnet. During his career, he's focused on creating transformational movies, including What Dreams May Come, which was an Oscar-winning movie, Homeless to Harvard, Emmy-nominated for Best Picture, The Celestine Prophecy, which won a Milan Festival Award, The Linda McCartney Story, The Lost and Found Family, and Quantum Project, just to name a few of some of the major projects you've worked on. Barnet's also an author of the third story, Awakening the Love That Transforms, and he's a contributing blogger for the Huffington Post. You can hear him every week as co-host of Cutting Edge Consciousness Radio on KTVA 1590 AM in Southern California, and you can also listen to his podcast at Cutting Edge at consciousness.com. Barnet conducts transformational leadership, ultra creativity programs for corporations and entrepreneurs. He's been honored by Wisdom Media with the Worldview Award for using media and entertainment to promote spiritual values. And tonight he's here to discuss his new project, the transformational movie Milton's Secret, based on the book by Eckhart Tolle and Robert S. Friedman, and starring Peter Fonda. So welcome, Barnet.
Wow, thank you. That's a lot of stuff for one.
You've been very, very, very busy.
Oh, my goodness. You didn't mention I'm trying to learn how to play the harmonica.
I forgot that. I am sorry.
You forgot? You forgot that part.
Listen, before we get started chatting, and I know Steve has some things he'd like to share with us, I just want to remind everybody that if you'd like to ask a question during our broadcast, just please press *6, and I'll be alerted that you have a question. I'll get to you as soon as I can. Remember, again, *6. So, G, I know that you and Barnet have met before and had the opportunity to speak. I was wondering if you could share with us some of your insights before we get started about transformational entertainment and some of the trends that you're beginning to see.
It's just so exciting to have Barnet Bain on the show because I have been becoming increasingly aware that there's really something afoot. When I met Barnet and some others who are involved in transformational media, I began to realize how deeply that the idea of transformation has sunk its tentacles into the mainstream. And how many movers and shakers have decided that it's time for the entertainment industry to become something other than just a profit-generating machine and a tool of sedation and escape, and actually start benefiting humanity and participating in this process we're all experiencing of waking up. I mean, we have a long way to go, and it's only a start, but I really see the whisperings of this so many places. The entertainment industry, like any other industry, is very set in its ways, and you know, frankly, as long as we keep watching what's produced and we keep laying down our ticket money, and people will continue to produce it, right? Because it's a business. So ultimately, we vote with our dollars for quality. We vote for transformation. We do that every time we make some kind of entertainment choice. But I do see a wave of awakening that really is operating in every single avenue of human endeavor. And in this, the entertainment industry is no exception. Something really magical is happening, as far as I can see. Not just individual people are waking up, but entire systems are waking up. The systems themselves are beginning to respond to an inner calling that we can be much more than we think we can. And we are much more than we think we are. Of course, as individuals wake up, it's inevitable that the systems that we have created are going to reflect more and more of that awakening as well. And it really always does start with individuals. It's always an internal thing first. It's always an inside job first. But we do need leadership. That energy can transform entire systems, but we need leaderships. We need people who are not only who are real leaders, not only really skilled and artistic at what they do, but they have the street savvy to know how things work. They have the ability to really walk the middle way between profit and quality, between being entertaining and being transformational. Now, I don't mind telling you that I'm as much of a little boy as the next guy, and I love seeing things blow up. I love the special effects. Now, there's no great spiritual message in yet another, movie kaboom or car chase, but it really is entertaining. But things like that are fun, but they're just momentary. They're momentary pleasure, and they pass very quickly. It's like a roller coaster ride. It's really a lot of fun, but I wouldn't want to stay on it all day. But taking a deep, maybe even a transcendent message, putting it into a compelling, entertaining story that grabs people's attention, that gets them involved, that makes them have an emotional experience, that leaves a lasting impression, that's really a gift. That's really a high achievement in my mind. This is like myth telling, storytelling, where people would gather around a fire and they would tell stories, and the stories would give meaning and value and purpose and dignity to their everyday life. They gave a context for living. And I see this starting to happen more. It's always been there, of course. I mean, there's always been luminaries who've been doing this. But it does seem like it's happening in mainstream filmmaking. It does seem like there's inroads that are being made. Now, I'm not an insider. Take my observations for what they're worth. It's just somebody who kind of feels that sense of awakening going on across the whole planet. And to know that entertainment is being leavened like this really lights me up, because it is such a powerful medium and its whole purpose is communication. I think we're on the verge of the tipping point. And sometimes I'm beginning to think we may be even closer to it than I had originally thought. No one can know for sure, of course. Nobody's crystal ball is that accurate. But when I see projects like Milton's Secret happening, and I meet people like Barnet, it gives me enormous encouragement.
Well, I think that I'm really excited to have our listeners hear about this great project and about the whole idea of transformational entertainment. So thanks, G, for sharing those insights with us. And again, Barnet, thank you for being our guest this evening.
Yeah, it's terrific to be here with you. I like what you're talking about, G, what you're saying about transformational entertainment. I don't so much feel that that Hollywood or anywhere else is, I don't think they're resistant. Anybody's resistant to transformational entertainment. I think it's a transformation, whether it's in our media or in our personal lives or in our relationships. It's organic and it's individuals to every human being in their own cadence and at their own pace. So I have a view about transformational entertainment that is maybe a little different. I'm not that interested on whether it's uplifting and inspiring from the point in the sense of, does it make you feel good? I am more interested in it from the perspective of, does it reveal certain truths about who we really are and the mechanics of our choices and our decisions and our behaviors. And for me, transformational entertainment, the most powerful models, we, as human beings, we learn by seeing other human beings. by witnessing other behaviors. And when we see behaviors that are by and large reactions to external events, most of our challenges in our stories, in our media, as well as how we relate to our personal lives, is we meet challenges and then we do our best to bulldoze those challenges in order to try and dominate it, either by overpowering it or being weak in it, and manipulating it, in a way that it conforms to our will. That's the primary model of how our world works. But in my view, transformational entertainment is a model wherein the characters change their thoughts and their choices and their assumptions about life, and they are willing to be different internally as a result of the challenges. So their life circumstances, that may or may not change, but they change. And when change happens to the characters from the inside out, I consider that transformational entertainment.
So I'd like you to talk more specifically for our listeners, if you could, about Milton's Secret. So tell us about specifically that project, what drew you to that project, and sort of the transformation that happens.
Well, Milton's Secret is my collaboration with Eckhart Tolle and the Dalai Lama Center, who are supporting sponsors of it. It's based on a novel by Eckhart and Robert Friedman. As you said earlier, it stars Peter Fonda. It's a story about a young boy who's very stressed. His parents are very stressed. They have financial problems. Their marriage is in trouble. He lives in a subdivision where every second or third house is underwater or closed. There are homeless people in his community. The government of the United States is on the verge of closing down, as it is this very day.
I said, gee, it sounds like reality.
It is. It's chaos and disharmony are everywhere. The unthinkable has become commonplace. There's violence and stress everywhere. And he's also bullied at school. So this is not a Disney movie. He spends his time, as does most of the people in his community and his parents around. They're lost in their digital devices, and they are anxious about the future or ruminating about the past, and very little time, very little awareness of the present moment. And so it's a movie about redemption. In this movie, it's not about changing the world outside of us, but finding a meaning and a connection in the moment. And for our hero, this young boy, it happens as a result of a visit from his grandfather, played by Peter Fonda, who is an older man who spent a life in the military, was a bad father, was a bad husband, and at this point in his life, he has discovered a certain kind of sweet sorrow. He has a gentle remorse, but not guilt. And he restores love and attention wherever he goes. He doesn't try to fix things. He's just totally present. And this boy, by exposure to his grandfather, has a transformational experience. He sees, without any teaching, an entirely different way to respond with care and compassion for the self first, a different way to meet the challenges of life. So we are making this movie. It's a very progressive idea. Certainly, you don't see lots and lots of these kinds of movies being made.
Exactly.
We're making it with progressive thought leaders, certainly Eckhart and the Dalai Lama Center. This progressive story about mindfulness and compassion, and we're making it in an equally progressive way, turning to crowdfunding in order to protect the spirituality of the message and also to engage the fans and allow them the opportunity to become involved with something that matters to them. So it's really, it's a very, very exciting time that we can now not have to rely on gatekeepers to approve or disapprove the kinds of messages that we want to tell, the kinds of messages we want to be, but that we can go directly to our audience and to our fans and to our supporters. And the same as PBS says, if you want to see this kind of programming, please support in a fund fund.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, it is, as far as I'm concerned, like consciousness itself. Consciousness is always seeking more and more freedom. And this ability to reach people through through crowdfunding and the internet and allow them to participate or not with what we're doing and support the kinds of messages that they want to see. This is, it's an extraordinary, extraordinary time to be alive. Amazing.
Well, I know G and I were talking earlier about crowdfunding, and G, you might want to share some of the things we were talking about, the fact that, it used to be these indie projects, right, were sort of, you really had to struggle to get them made, and these projects that didn't have a lot of support from the studios and major backing, and how wonderful that now anyone can be a part of a project like that from the ground floor. And we'll talk later about how our listeners can support the project and give them a website to go to. But I was really impressed at all the different funding levels there are. And G, maybe you could explain a little bit to the listeners about what crowdfunding really is.
Well, yes, that is happening in indie music as well, which I'm much more familiar with. And I think there's two things that have converged to facilitate it. One is the advent of the internet, of course, this incredible ability to communicate anywhere on the planet instantaneously. So people know this stuff is going on. It allows people to be aware of all the opportunities for increasing value that are available to us, even at a very minimal level, even if you're giving $1. I belong to this organization called Kiva, which does microloans to small businesses around the world. Some farmer in Nicaragua needs to buy a seed for his crop for the year that he's going to bring to market, or a woman in Pakistan wants to buy a sewing machine to start a business. So a bunch of people all put in a relatively small amount of money, $20, $25, and then people pay it back in like 3 to 6 months. It's not a gift, it's a loan. And they pay it back out of the profits they've made from their business. I always let my $25 just ride. I put it into the other thing, and I've probably supported like 4 or 5 really cool, helpful projects that way. So a very small effort can have an enormous effect because of this incredible communication tool that we have in the internet. The other thing that's happening, which is really amazing, is that the cost of production has gone down, mostly because of the cost of the equipment. I mean, I have a studio in my computer sitting on my desk that 15 or 20 years ago would have been $400,000 or $500,000 worth of stuff to get the exact same level of quality and content that I can get just sitting here. I could produce the sound of an orchestra, a babbling brook, a piano, right, or a kazoo. So it's an incredible convergence of things. And to Barnet's point, this is consciousness seeking more freedom. I so totally agree with that. And it's finding ways to express itself. The internet is consciousness seeking more freedom, seeking more connection.
That's a really good point, that just the whole process that you go through creating movies now and music is the equipment is much different, right? And it's much more cost effective. We actually have a question I'm going to just break real quickly to take. Hi,
Hello.
Do you have a question?
I do. My name is Eileen, and I want to thank you for Branet for doing this for the world. I really feel that that consciousness is really, like you say, seeking liberation, and I think it's wonderful because I feel that what happens is when a movie like this comes out, it also creates a stronger energetic field for people to be raised to that level, and to see that there are other possibilities of growth and inner freedom. And I was wondering if you were ever considering doing a movie where a group of people who are committed to their inner freedom might be working through like what the soul is wanting on a collective level that would be coming through their dreams or other means that would be reflecting a greater level of being able to step into the fullness of who we really are. That's coming through the collective psyche.
Wow. Well, that's a big question. First of all, I want to thank you, Eileen.
Well, I'm sure glad she asked you that.
Yeah, I could have fully in G on this one. But I'm very grateful for your kind words, and I love to hear. You sound like you're from Canada. Is that right?
I am.
So am I. So I thank you for that. And as far as your question about dreams and the collective dream, in some ways, every project that I am involved in, whether it's a movie or television or broadcasting or writing, whatever it is always about that, Eileen. It is really all about what is my relationship to everybody else. I'm really just speaking to myself and attempting to do it in a way that is entertaining and in a way that is as generous as I can be about sharing my process with other people. But I am absolutely aware that we are simultaneously experiencing a separation, and we are, what is even more true, we are all connected and through the dreaming and in the dreaming. And so I'm very, very aware of that. I grow more and more aware of that all the time. And for me, my life is really about the discovery of the more and more ways that I am connected with everybody and everything and all that is. I think that for me is probably the best definition of spirituality that I can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the media and the film industry is one of the most powerful ways to get that, not only the message across, but it's like the Matrix. There's a whole, I feel we're breaking through and creating the divine matrix, which has always been there. But now it's becoming more conscious and more because we're being pushed to be the fullness of who we are. And I feel the movie industry is a powerful way to get that message across.
So beautifully said. That is really beautifully said. And you know, there's a big paradox in that too. When I first came to Hollywood from Canada, which was many, many years ago, I had a therapist who introduced me to spirituality a lot of years ago. He said, okay, enough of this therapy. It's not, it can only take you so far. But there's a much bigger game in Barnet called spirituality. And so he is now close to 100 and still my dear friend. But he said to me one day when I was feeling particularly helpless and hopeless and misunderstood and unappreciated, about my chosen career, my profession, and the community in which I operated. He said, Barnet, you're not in Hollywood. Hollywood is in you. You're not in the world is in you. You're not in your body is in you. Yeah. And more and more I discover layers of meaning of what he was referring to. I've been discovering more and more of that now for several decades, and it really has to do with what you're speaking to. We are connected to the matrix, and at the same time, we are the matrix. We don't all have the same amount of lights switched on, and there are levels and expressions of consciousness. And a multidimensionality of consciousness that is first mysterious to us and then ultimately a mystical experience to us, and then beyond our ability to even perceive and conceive. But the journey is unfolding of the discovery of self and the ownership of self. So I hear you. I love what you're saying.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
The other part of that I really love, it's also this infinite journey we're on of trying to give expression to the expressionless. We're saying stuff that can't actually be put into words. I mean, this is what we're doing. We're giving form to the formless. It's actually an impossible task, but there's so much joy just in the attempt of giving life to things that are just, they're invisible, they're unseen, and yet they're very real. They're solid as a rock. When that little spark of inspiration just breaks through and light things up with insight, or tenderness, compassion, it's breathtaking.
Well, and I think with movies, you can really do that, right? It's so many layers of things between the music and the way that the film is shot, from the camera angles to how the sets are dressed to the words that the actors and actresses are even speaking to to the people that are actually doing the work. It's such a collaboration of so many different energies. I feel like film is such a great way to really begin creating change.
It's a magnificent art form, and it is so powerful. Like I said, it's dedicated to communication. Now, it's powerful no matter whose hands it's in, and that, of course, is the deal. I mean, the hands that are holding it, that power, are going to determine the quality and the intention behind it. And I'm just really glad that there are people like Barnet out there who have the capable hands, capable of managing and wielding this power and using it with wisdom.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
And Barnet, speaking of connecting, did I read somewhere that you reached out to Eckhart and you were the one that actually approached him about making this film initially, and he sort of said, okay, go for it if you want to really do it?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
I reached out to him and I shared my idea of what it was I wanted to attempt. And he said, yeah, give it a shot. Let's see. And take it one step at a time. And if I like it, I'll say keep going. And,
well, that's a lot of pressure.
he kept saying, yeah, keep going. And then eventually we finished the script, and he loved it so much that I don't know, your listeners may or may not realize that Eckhart has sold however many millions and millions of books, but he's never done a book tour, and he's never promoted any of them. He's never done a book signing, and I didn't really expect that he would. I fully expected that he would operate the same way around this, and then. I received a phone call one day to say that Eckhart is going to be in your studio tomorrow at 11 o'clock to go on camera and talk about how much what he feels about transformational film and what he feels about Milton's Secret and what he thinks it can be and why it matters to him. And I felt so honored that he would feel that strongly about this movie. I certainly do. And it mirrored back to me what happens when we focus with passion on our life's work. And the road always rises to meet us. You don't really see how these things are going to happen when we started out. And I thought, well, I don't, at any moment, Eckhart is, saying if I don't like it, we won't go forward. And then suddenly he is on camera speaking so beautifully about why it's what matters to him and why it moved him.
Well, and
so it's quite a journey.
And so incredibly of the project, and you can see his excitement and all. The two of you are really great together.
Thank you.
So tell me about the Dalai Lama Institute. How did they get involved with being a producer on the project?
They are not so much producers. They are sponsors.
Okay.
they resonated very strongly with the themes of the film. Victor Chan, who runs the Dalai Lama Center, and he read the script, and he was very powerfully moved by what it models as opposed to what it preaches. It doesn't preach. And God knows I've made quite a few movies in the past that did preach, and that did sort of get up on a soapbox and say, well, here's what I care about. Here's what I know about metaphysics, and here's what I care about, and I just want to tell everybody. Yeah, we all have friends like that. They sort of take a seminar, and then they have to they have to instruct you and inform you. And so I guess I have finally matured enough to get off of that. And I just told a story, and it's only a movie. It's of course, nothing is only a movie, but movies and stories are always maps of the human heart. It's a map of the teller's heart, but I'm treating it only as a sharing of different kinds of behaviors in the face of different challenges that are all very familiar to us. And so Victor at the Dalai Lama Center was very moved by it, and since it deals with all of the themes of stress and bullying and educational peace and education, and since it models that there cannot be any peace, outer world peace, until we have inner world peace, and that it starts in the hearts and minds of every individual, and that it's not concept, but it is a felt sense. It's an aliveness that happens in the body when we make peace with the mind, and we restore thinking to its proper relationship, healthy, balanced relationship with being embodied somatic states. When we are not triggered or reactive to every thought or every feeling that we have, but are able to be in relationship to it, be more present with what's going on, then peace begins to bloom, first in the individual, and then it begins to expand out. And so that is what the Dalai Lama Center is. That is what they're about.
Yes.
And so they were aligned with this because we are making a mainstream movie that traffics in every one of the issues of concern to Eckhart and to the Dalai Lama Center, and certainly to me.
Well, and I think that the movie itself is really on point. Obviously, it's based on the book, which was on point. But again, there are so many of these stresses on everyone today in society that there isn't a person that this movie won't touch in some way, whether it's through bullying or whether it's through financial stress or, marital problems. There are just so many issues that it really touches that I think everyone will have an opportunity to take something away from it.
I believe so, and I hope so. And above all else, it has to be entertaining, and it has to tell a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it is a great story, and it has to be emotional, and it has to be a roller coaster, and it has to be a ride, and it has to be fun, and you have to laugh, and you have to cry. So we don't get a pass on any of the qualities that make a really great tale. And woven in betwixt and between, in the very DNA of the story, is a new story, a story that is it's a story that is so broad that it allows us, as I said earlier, to more clearly see the old story that we operated in and that most of us still operate in, and that there are choices. We're not making that bad or wrong, but there are more empowered choices.
Well, and I think one of the other things that the movie will bring out, I've been watching social media the last week. I like to watch what's trending, what people are talking about from a spiritual perspective. There's been a lot of conversation about the fact that if you want to change the world, you got to change yourself. Change starts with you. It starts inside of you, and you can't expect to change anything outside of you if you haven't addressed who you are. And that kind of goes to your point where you're talking about how, Milton realizes he has to look inside himself.
He looks inside of himself, but it's not in a psychological way.
Mm-hmm.
He has to live inside of himself. So it isn't. We are very used to hearing this language about you have to love yourself or you have to look. Change starts within, but we don't really have too many examples to look at in our stories and in our world of what that looks like. How does it operate?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we see people who are clearly operating there from time to time, and they do have a special something. When you listen to the Dalai Lama, and there is something going on there. So it isn't so much about learning our psychology, although that's certainly a piece, but it's really about rediscovering our bodies. We are not really in our bodies. And when I say that, I realize I'm adding to the problem when I speak about it like this on the radio, which is why I so much want to show it on film,
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's witnessed and understood. And the mind is not trying to kind of make sense of it and fit it into logic and fit it into reason and get a handle on it. It's because, as you said before, G, it is not, I think you were citing or referencing Einstein there, that we cannot solve a challenge from the same consciousness that created it. And the consciousness that we largely live in is inside thought loops in our heads. And truth be told, when we're in our heads, we are actually not even in our bodies. We're nominally in our bodies, but we don't have any body awareness. Let me put it that way. When we're lost in our heads, in our thoughts, we don't have any body awareness. As
talk
opposed
about it
to
here all you want. My audience has had that thoroughly drilled into their heads. In fact, the audio course I teach, Just Aloud, is nothing but that. It is nothing but the reconnecting with the direct experience of your body and being out of your head and experiencing the incredible and old wisdom that lives there.
Well, and I know we've had a lot of conversations about how you have to get out of your own mind and actually feel the whole idea of feeling inside, feeling your body, feeling the experience.
I like the fact that he comes right on and says it's about feeling your body. Because even when somebody says, feeling inside or doing inner work, it can get a bit metaphysical. You can actually detach from the body. You kind of turn to this mystical place that's kind of empty. Turn to your body. Your body is the direct experience of your life. Your body lives in the present. Your mind is in the past and the future. It is never present. The body always is. You want to be present? Feel your body. It is directly connected to what's going on. It's your body that's connected to the rest of the universe, not your mind. Your mind feels nothing. Your mind can't love, it can't empathize, it can't connect, it can't even fear. It can't do anything living. It makes stories after the fact. It remembers stuff. It makes creative associations. It makes interpretations. All very valuable. But it's not the direct experience of life. One thing I wanted to bring up with Barnet and have him talk about was one of the things I really loved was the character of the grandfather. Unlike in the classical myth, there's the magician character who shows up as the mentor for the youngster on his way through transformation, like Merlin and King Arthur. And they tend to have all these powers. This guy, the grandfather, is really a guy who's just gone through a transformation himself. He's very, very human, very vulnerable, very gritty. And you said before, remorse without guilt. Such a beautiful line. The wisdom of having gone through life and experienced the consequences of your actions and the effect they've had, and often that effect is irreversible. Genuine remorse is when you see the suffering you can create for others, which is not the same as guilt, because there's a power, there's an opening, there's a hope in remorse that doesn't exist in guilt. There's a wisdom. From direct experience, you know what's good and you know what isn't. So that's a character I would love to hear you speak more about, because it just really grabbed me, the grittiness of that guy.
Well, you're absolutely right. This character is he is not really he's not your class. He's not like the Hogwarts type of a wizard or anything.
No, this is no Obi-Wan Kenobi.
This is not Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is a guy who comes to visit his daughter and his son-in-law and his grandson. And he has a terrible relationship with his daughter. She's still harboring a lot of hurt. And he is at a place where he is sufficiently compassionate that he is not defending against it. He's not necessarily identifying with it, but he is able to be big enough to make a space for it and to own that he had some pretty unpleasant impact on her. And he's not making stories, and he's not defending, and he's not off in his head. He's simply there to experience her pain and her awkwardness about their relationship. And at the same time, he is very, very focused on everything that he does. He is not wandering, ruminating about the past, and he is not thinking about what's going to be. He's not worried. He is not lost in his head in thoughts about feelings, which is what we often do. We often have thoughts about feelings. We're in like head trips about feelings, which are very different and usually much more distressing than actually feeling them in the present in the body. So he is someone who has discovered presence. And it's simply by being with his grandfather and by watching his grandfather with an open heart. He has an open heart and he has an open mind, and he is very, very present always. When he is with you, he's not thinking about where he needs to be next. He's not taking calls. He allows others to feel known, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel that they matter. He is concerned about allowing them to feel known. And so he makes people's sense of themselves feel very alive. That is a very beautiful gift, a really beautiful gift. And for this young boy to witness in his grandfather such a capacity to be spacious, to create space for whatever is going on without getting tripped up in it. Sometimes he gets tripped up in it. He's not a superhero, this guy. Sometimes he gets really tripped up in it. And he also has some tools to bring himself back through a little breath work and through some tools that we see in the movie that allows him, without making a big deal of it, it's just some behaviors that he does, it allows him to drop back down and out of his head and back into his body. And this has a profound, profound impact on this boy.
Well, I can't wait for this movie to come out. So tell us, can you share with us where you're at in the process?
I just think it's really cool that Peter Fonda is playing that role.
Yeah.
He is He's just so cool.
Great. Well, here's where we are with it. We have much of our funding together through various investors and various subsidies and various government subsidies and all sorts of things. You know, this is being made in Canada. I'm Canadian and Eckhart's Canadian, and that's a country that that partially subsidizes independent films. And so we won some awards that came with subsidies, and there is still a shortfall in our financing plan, and we decided in order to better manage the integrity of the spirituality and not to have to make compromises that were being asked here and there, that we would turn to crowdfunding, and we would see if there was an audience that was willing to support, to be, as the great man said, we can be the message we want to be. Mm-hmm. We can be the change we want to be, it was originally said. And so I paraphrase it and invited people to check out the trailer and to hear from Eckhart and to see what we were doing. And if they felt moved to participate and make a contribution, we have lots and lots of very cool gifts that we are extending, things like digital download of the shooting script and copies of the finished film and the script and behind-the-scenes documentary stuff. And there's a 5-hour-long audio seminar creativity course that I created that we're giving away, and copies of my books and Eckhart's books and all sorts of things, all the way up to speaking parts of the movie. I think actually, I think there's still a couple of those left. One of them is left, as far as I can see. But speaking role in the film, or having a screening in your town, all sorts of fun rewards to so that people feel that they are receiving value right away, and that they are co-creating with us. And our intention is to raise funds inside this crowdfunding and to add them to the other funds, and they will also trigger other funds in order for us to make the film. So it's very exciting, and it's very much a brand new exploration. It certainly is not something that I have done before. I don't think there have been too many people at all that have done it before. One or two very recently have done this before, but it's very, very new and very pioneering.
And what is the URL they can go to so they can jump in
and
help?
For how about that? See what a effective. I'm directing this, so it's a good thing I'm not the producer, or I'm about to get a call from my producer.
We would have gotten you there, Barnet. Don't worry.
Thank you for taking care of me so well, you guys. You don't want to leave me alone like that. I would have gotten off with just talking about how much I care about this movie and not telling anybody where they can learn more about it. For those of you that are interested, and I hope you all are, you can learn more about it at www.supportmiltonssecret.com. And that's one word, supportmiltonssecret.com.
And it's Milton's plural. So, and I think this thing that I was so amazed when I went and checked out the site and the trailer was all of the engagement at all of the different levels. I mean, literally for $5, you can be involved in the project, and you had so many great things to give back to those that were offering support, and it's such a great way to be able to collaborate on such an important project. So
there's so many pieces to that collaboration. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's fun, and also we create a resonance together. We conjure up a frequency together. And beyond that, we also send a message very loud and very clear. I mean, we currently have about 1,500 contributors already. We are sending a message to the world that there is a very, very committed and serious fan base for this kind of entertainment. And although you cannot expect the industry to provide entertainment that they don't understand, any more than you can expect people to make films in French if they don't speak French.
Mm-hmm.
When people see, well, there's already 1,500 supporters on this, and my goodness, there is something going on here. People are passionate and they care and they want this. It opens minds, and it allows people at the edge who may be ready for a deeper exploration of this kind of spirituality and presence and mindfulness. It may be the thing that triggers their curiosity enough to change lives, and it's important that we don't hide our light under a bushel basket. It's very important. I feel, I want people to join us. This is not something simple. It's something grand, and I hope that people will join us and help put spirituality out into the world in this way. And first, of course, it involves that we have to put our hand in our pockets and then out into the world. I'm learning that myself, and it's quite a big lesson to discover.
Well, I so appreciate you being with us tonight, Barnet, and sharing with us your journey in making this film, Milton's Secret. G, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up our evening together?
This topic is very close to my heart. I've been a performer of one kind or another my entire life. I used to do stand-up comedy for show and tell when I was in grade school. I've been a musician since I was 5. I've done one-man shows and MC and speaking, and I have been involved in communicating openly in the public for my whole life. And I've seen all sorts of aspects of this thing we call entertainment. And I think it's kind of sad to me that entertainment has just been reduced to just amusement, just a means of becoming sedated to escape from our lives. I mean, if we want to escape from our lives, we probably need to have a better life. We need to do some more real living. Our lives have become just too perfunctory, and a lot of people do feel really stuck. Sometimes it's really hard to see your way out of something, especially when you feel stuck. Transformational entertainment is a word we've coined because entertainment has just been focused on the momentary thrill, just on the high, the peak experience. I have a better word for it, really. I call it art. It's something made for the passion of the making. It's about the passion of the subject, the passion of the content, the passion of the form, the passion of the quality of the message and the final product, the mastery of walking between the world of business and making a living, getting it out there so people can see it, and the world of being true to the message. When you make a piece of work not just for profit or its escapist value, both of which have already made clear I love, you of course want it to be profitable, which simply means people like it. They went and saw it. They got it. And you want them to be transported somewhere that's outside of their life. You want to take them out of their life so they can be fully present somewhere else and be completely immersed in experience. But then you don't want to just throw them back into their regular life. So they just got off the roller coaster after standing in line for an hour and just went back out again and started walking around. So when they go back out into lives, when we all go back out into our lives, something has changed. Something has shifted. A transformation has taken place. There's a new inner resource available. There's a new power available. Something new, fresh has been given to us. I so resonate with what Barnet said about the energy that gets created, the signal that gets sent. It just gets sent out there. It's a message we can all give just by what we choose to invest our time, energy, and money in. We say we want quality. We want not just the quality of the great effects and lighting and camera and production and all of that, but the quality of the subject and subjects and content and stories that are really going to touch our hearts deeply and not leave us where they found us. We don't want to be the same when it's over. To me, that's art. This is the role art has played throughout all history and long before there was any entertainment industry. We're voting for art. That's what we're voting for, to me. So whatever you can do to participate in this, you're connected through the internet. Money is an expression of what we value. Put your money where the message of what you value rings out loud and clear for others to hear. Even a tiny effort has an enormous effect because we are all connected. And if you touch any part of this infinite circuit that we are all a part of, the entire circuit changes. So if anybody out there has ever said, gee, what can I do to make the world a better place? Well, this is it. Waiting for a sign, this is it.
Well, and I think that this movie also provides the tools that many of us are looking for to begin resonating at a higher level. And this draws directly back to the whole foundation of our show, which is the law of attraction, and providing our listeners with the tools so that they can begin living a more fulfilled life and to resonate even stronger in the universe.
Thank you both for having me on the show. I'm so grateful. I had a lot of fun, and I want to thank all of your listeners and Eileen for calling in. Thank you so much, and I hope that you will check out supportmiltonsecret.com.
Definitely, definitely. I'd like to thank all of our listeners again this evening, and thank you again, Barnet. Thanks for joining us for Spiritual Straight Talk with G.P. Walsh and Karen Scarpula. Don't forget to check out how to support Milton's Secret. It's at www.supportmiltonsecret.com, all one word. This is an excellent opportunity for you to be part of a really wonderful transformational movie. There's a support level for everyone. Even the smallest contribution will help the project. I hope you'll all join us next week, as our guest will be Beth Meisner, Christian author and speaker. She'll be discussing her new book, The Meisner Plan, which should be available next week on Amazon.com. The book focuses on spirit, mind, and body connection and how to create a harmonious balance that includes the way we eat. Remember, you can send your questions ahead of time to our show, questions at LOA20.com. If you want to join the conversation yourself, please go to LOA20.com to learn how. You can also go to our guest page to find out more information and links to supportmiltonsecret.com. Thank you again, Barnet, and thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you'll join us next week for more Straight Talk. Good night.
Thank you. Bye now.